Welcome to another episode of STO Nation, a production of Park Media. Before I introduce today's guest, don't forget to hit that subscribe button, share, and leave a 5-star review. And if you find this podcast useful in any way and want to pay us the ultimate compliment, head on over to our Patreon page where you can subscribe to be a Classic, Stealth, or Beast Mode subscriber. STO Nation, welcome back to a special episode. This episode is unique in a couple of ways. The first is that we have ensembled the entire STO Nation team for our podcast. The team is together as a discussion panel to go over the new features of the 2022 modes, and we're also sharing our thoughts on them. Secondly, the panel is made up of a diverse array of mode owners. We have 2 current owners, to include myself, that have a 2020 mode and that we've also owned our modes for a while. We have one 2021 stealth owner that has owned their mode for a while as well. We also have one 2021 classic owner who literally just picked up his mode less than a month ago, and we have one person who is awaiting their 2022 stealth. And lastly, if you're watching the podcast live, we had a special surprise guest, Conn, who's the president and COO of Storyteller. Unfortunately, there was a technical glitch during the recording, so Lee's video was lost. Insert sad face here now. So if this is the first time hearing this episode, I'll summarize what Lee talked about. Lee talked about why the awning on the Ford LT sticks out so much. He explained it sticks out more on the Ford LT because they wanted the awning to be able to cover the entire sliding door. Plus the shape of the front cabin and windshield make it more dramatic. Lee also talked about the struggles of figuring out the new design of the 2022s. Essentially, to get the digital interface to work with everything, they had to redesign from the ground up, and that's the reason why the new digital control panel can't be retrofitted. Lee then addressed a question about potential chassis shortage, particularly the Ford chassis. Long story short, Storyteller is aware, and they can't fix the global shortage situation. They would if they could, and if anything, they'd like to make as many vans as possible, not hold them back from people. That said, it's sometimes a day-to-day thing, and unfortunately, nobody has the answers or holds a crystal ball to look into the future. But they are doing the best they can to procure the chassis for all the orders placed. And finally, Lee discussed how their service will continue to grow as more vans are made. He talked about how Storyteller doesn't have any issues calling dealerships to help expedite the fix, even if that includes calling upper management. He then went on to talk about how the customer service team is expanding by developing a portal where you can go in and describe the problem with the ability to upload photos. So gone are the days of the app. In fact, they're trying to move away from the Storyteller app now, because they feel that using the app, you lose the personability in regards to the customer service experience. What this new portal will do is that it'll allow the customer service rep to look at the troubleshoot ticket, then talk to the necessary people who know about that system with photos provided, then get back to the Storyteller owner with a fix. Doing this will help alleviate the troubleshooting with the customer because the appropriate person in Storyteller will be able to troubleshoot and solve the issue before the customer service rep even gets back to the customer, which is unlike now where you either call in or open a troubleshoot ticket and then get bounced around a bit until they can figure out how to fix the problem. The entire intent is to mainstream and make the service process more efficient. There is no hard date of when Storyteller will launch this, but we should be able to expect it within a couple of months. Again, I'm super bummed that Lee's video is lost somewhere in the digital Never Never land, but hopefully A, you watched the live stream, and B, if you didn't, this will recap everything that he talked about. So with that said, please sit back, relax, and enjoy the episode. All right, well, welcome STO Nation, and welcome to the audience members that are watching this. This podcast is unique in the fact that we actually have members of the STO Nation team here to talk about the new 2022 features that were released this last weekend in Flagstaff, Arizona. So that being said, let's go around. Let's start with Peng, and you guys just introduce yourself, what kind of Storyteller you have, and how long you've owned it. So go ahead and kick it away, Peng.
Great. My name is Peng, and I am the web designer for STO Nation, and I just received my 2021 Storyteller Classic in Pebble Gray about 3 weeks ago. Next.
Okay, Lorenzo, you want to go next?
Sure. Lorenzo, and I actually have had my Storyteller Stealth since, well, it was supposed to be November, but early December of 2020. So it's going to be coming up on a year already. And I, as far as helping out with STO Nation, I try to help out in every way I can.
All right. And Graham, do you want to go next?
Sure. So I'm Graham Bertoft. My wife Michelle is also on the line. We've got a 2020 Beast. So we've had that since about October of last year. Lived in it for about 8 months. Just recently moved back into a house. And we are assisting Younghwa with content for the podcast.
And then Michelle, he kind of introduced you guys both, but do you have anything else to add to that?
That's perfect. No, I think the only other thing that's kind of unique about us is that we also had a classic originally. We bought that in May 2020 and then upgraded to that Beast in October. And as of right now, we also have a transit on order. So kind of getting a sense of everything, but it's been quite an adventure. All right, so handing it over.
Nice. And Guillaume?
Yes. Hey, I'm Guillaume, aka G. I'm the marketing director for STO Nation. So all the brand stuff that you see out there and all the ads that we pepper you with on Instagram, that's the stuff I'm making behind the scenes. I think I'm the only person on this panel who has yet to receive that mode. I have a 2022 Stealth on order, so I'm super excited to get that. Looking like spring next year, and excited to chat about all the fun features that are coming.
Awesome. So let's just go ahead and open up the forum, and let's just talk about the features. So let's start off. Well, to caveat everything, I think I want you guys to be able to talk freely, so we can talk about the good, the bad, and the ugly. So let's go ahead and start with the good. So who wants to open up first?
I'll jump
I
in.
can. So we were okay. Well, Michelle, we can just, I guess, tag team. So Michelle and I were lucky enough to actually go down to Flagstaff and see the vehicles. So we saw a couple kind of new things that we really liked. For one, the new display that has all the window dimming, all the light dimming, excuse me, all your power, all that type of stuff, all in one place. Was a really handy, really nice display. In particular, one of the things that kind of caught my eye is you have light dimming on there, and it includes those little pesky reading lights that are really handy to have, but are incredibly bright. So those can now be dimmed, which is really nice. I think that was one of the key things that we saw that I know Michelle was excited about.
Yeah, I think the panel is probably the
Michelle,
biggest
did you have
difference.
more?
Yeah, I think the panel was probably the biggest difference from what we saw previously, and it looks sharp. I mean, this thing looks just amazing to see it in person. It's high tech. It looks modern, which is fabulous. I think the other pieces that were really nice, and those were on the Stealth and the Beast, would be the exterior extra charging port, which is 20-30 amp, I think, on the side. Super impressive there. And then also kind of resolving some of the issues with the water fill in the back would be some of the pieces I thought were really nice innovations. Super impressed with how they raised it forward, and definitely I think we're seeing a bigger leap forward from Storyteller in this model year changeover compared to the year past. So anyone that's getting that 2022, I think is going to be super impressed with the upgrades to the classic Stealth and Beast modes.
Yeah,
I couldn't agree more.
Yeah, I agree. I was going to add that the power output is 27 amps is the max that they're limiting it at 27 amps. Yeah, I think that a lot of the uh, the differences or new features are more of an evolution, but definitely in the right direction, and definitely um, it seems like with the customer's input in mind, which is very much appreciated, I think, by a lot of folks. I mean, I know the removable cabinets. That's a feature that I think for my wife, she wasn't, the technical stuff like that. She's like, it's fine. But she's like, removable cabinets, what? She's like, okay, those are kind of cool. That could be useful. Um, and definitely, I think a lot of the changes, just with the controls for the water panels, the addition. Oh, they added the extra light for the garage in the front, light switch. So now you can turn off the
Yeah,
lights in the front, which is kind of awesome. I mean, I know that that's something that a lot of us have complained about.
yeah, yeah.
So
And that panel is actually kind of interesting because it also now has all of your little water switches. So that's where you now turn on the water pump. That's where you turn on the heat and all that type of stuff. It's all in one right there. So yeah, it is actually kind of a neat little feature. Because at first we got in from the back and I was looking to up front and I couldn't see the switch. I was like, really? They didn't add that? And then we climbed in the front and was like, oh, there it is. Okay, cool. So yeah, it's a really nice feature having that up
And
front.
not just by adding it there, but they also added it in the water panel in the back. They added a water pump power switch
Hmm.
as well, so it's in two spots. Makes it a lot more convenient. I mean, it's definitely, like I said, it's little things that make your life a lot easier, which is kind of nice.
Yeah. The only issue I have with the new water control panel is that if you have to switch between city water and filling up your tank, you have to open the back door in order to get to that.
Oh,
So, for those of us who have a lot of stuff on the back end or a lot of stuff that's kind of in that in between area between the bed and the door, that can be a little interesting. But otherwise, it is nice that it's just all in one spot. So.
Yeah. And the one thing I did notice with the water control panel is that every time you fill up the water, you have to turn that switch over to fill. And then once you're done, in order to use the water, you have to turn it back. So I think that might be a little inconvenience in regards to, like, let's say it's raining or some type of
Mhm.
adverse weather and you have to open the back up. And because it's on the left-hand side, you have to open both doors
Both
up.
doors, yeah.
And then
That's
you have
true.
that
Yeah.
switch. So that's one thing I did notice. So Pung, I'm curious because you just literally picked up your 2021 Classic. What do you think?
well, um, I think there are a lot of features on there that makes me jealous, but there is nothing in there because this. I think this is what's great about Storyteller is they listen to their audience, to their customer, and they make minor tweaks and improvements. So there are definitely a lot of features and improvements, but nothing that makes me regret what I purchased. And partly is because, as you know, I've had the van for only 1 month. Or almost 1 month, and I already made 3 trips and been to Oregon, Eastern Sierra, all these different places. And that to me is more valuable than having easy
Mhm.
access to the garage light. So I can either wait for another few months, or I can be doing all of these things. As far as the features, though, they are really nice improvements. For example, I really love how they relocated that garage light. I really love the water system. And actually, I do have a question for you on water because you mentioned that you have to switch between water. So does that mean if you're using city water, you have to switch from? How does that
So
work?
so there's a switch back there. So there's only one water
Yeah,
port
they
to fill
removed
in.
they used to have two, one for city water and one for filling in the tank, and then now they only have one. So one access port on the side of the van. So now you got to switch between the two. So that's the inconvenience.
So if you're okay, so if you're using city water, you have to switch to city water, and if you're trying to siphon or fill, to put it to fill, and then once you want to use it, you still have to switch to using it, right? Interior. Can you still
Right,
siphon the
right.
water?
You
Yeah, you
can,
can.
Okay, okay.
and
Because I was like,
actually, that was yeah, that was another nice thing that they did. Actually, is they moved access to the water cabinet from down on the floor on the inside actually to now it's on that back panel, so it's
Okay,
immediately accessible once you open that door. Like if you've got crap in front of it, you can just get right to it there.
okay.
So that's actually a really nice thing that they did.
Yeah. So for my van, I have to say the only thing that I was, I wouldn't say disappointed, but I thought it didn't really fit the storyteller quality is the water section in the current ones. Because if you look down there, it's kind of a mess with a bunch of different switches everywhere. But it works, it functions, and that's I think to answer your very first question in a very long way is everything's lovely, everything's great. If I had waited for my 2022, I would be very happy. But if I picked up my 2021 right now, I have no regret. I don't regret not waiting for a few more months. So
You know,
That's good to know.
the other
yeah,
thing too, Pong, is that a lot of I think a lot of the things that, like I said, the changes and additions are evolutionary. So theoretically, a lot of the changes, the minor ones, we can, customize your way.
yeah,
Like
yeah,
you can add that third switch to one of the panels. Because I have all the parts, I just haven't had time to actually do it, and haven't really decided where I want to put the switch. But I have everything ordered and at home actually already, just to wire that second switch so that I can turn on the garage lights from the front as well. It's just, and it's one thing to buy everything already chain the way you like it, and then there's another way. There's another thing to actually make the improvements yourself, or the mods, or however you want to word it. But
hmm
there's a little bit of gratification in tinkering as well. I don't know. At
you can
least
say that because I just put in. Yeah, you can say that because I just put in my shelf overhead shelf today, and I was very
nice.
happy.
Yeah.
Oh,
That
nice.
does
Nice.
What'd you end up getting?
The then wife because
Okay,
they
nice.
had a expo, they had a discount code, so I just took advantage of that.
Mm-hmm.
So
Sweet. Good for you.
It feels
thanks.
good, right?
So,
It feels
gee,
good to make those changes.
Yeah, yeah.
it's only the beginning. Watch out. So,
uh,
gee, as the only person on the panel that has yet to receive their storyteller, how do you feel about the new changes?
Yes. Honestly, I echo a lot of what everyone's already said. I think it's obviously evolutionary changes, but I think really interesting ones. I think as far as improvements over the previous generations, those small sort of usability tweaks I think are great. It clearly shows that the team over there is really listening to feedback and putting it into action. It's kind of amazing to see that they're doing that for a model year evolution. And then as far as the more significant changes with the new control panel, I think ModeCom as it's called, I think that's great. I don't love clusters of switches. It was something I never liked in the original design, and so I'm really excited to see that that's being consolidated into a single touch panel. I will say I'm going to reserve judgment until I actually experience it, because usually putting everything behind a touchscreen means usability can take a little bit of a hit. So we'll see what that looks like. And actually, something that hasn't been mentioned so far, but and it wasn't new news with this particular announcement. I think we had actually heard about it on the podcast that you did with the recording that you did with the team, the Storyteller team, a couple of months ago, Younghwa. The 2022 chassis. So I've got a stealth mode on order, so it's on the Sprinter, and I'm really glad that they spec'd the LED lights on the
Mm-hmm.
chassis spec, because I have my current Sprinter van is a sort of non-storyteller van, but it's on a VS30 chassis. It's a 2020, but it has the standard halogen lights, and I mean, I already swapped out the bulbs. This is first night drive. I was like, I need to swap out the bulbs.
Yeah.
So I'm glad that they've done that. That's a pretty, they've basically up leveled the chassis to be
Mm-hmm.
pretty much as high spec as you can get it. So all of those things I'm very excited for. Yeah, can't wait for it to finally arrive.
So,
Yeah.
let me ask you this then, G. So, if you had the opportunity, now that you know what the 2022 is all about, if you could go back in time and you had the choice of either picking a 21 or and getting it, let's say 4 or 5 months ago, or waiting, I think your delivery is sometime this spring, waiting until next year to get the 2022, what would you want? What would you decide?
It's a tough one. I love instant gratification, but I think given these features, these pretty significant updates, I think waiting, and honestly, I'm kind of in a unique position, a privileged one, in that I have a Sprinter. My family and I, we have a camper van. It's not as amazing a spec as a Storyteller, but it gets us out there, which is awesome. If we didn't, I think I would probably pick option A and take delivery sooner.
So there goes my
Okay,
chance.
so my
There
next.
goes my chance to try to swap with him. I was gonna say, hey, you wanna swap?
Don't worry, Lorenzo. We'll hang out. I'm probably going to ask you to do some electrical mods
Oh
regardless.
yeah, no yeah. So
Oh my goodness. Yeah. So my next question is for Lorenzo and the Bertoffs. And so you guys have basically a lot of mods done to your storytellers. And with that being said, do you wish, I'll kind of ask the same question that I just asked G. Do you wish you kind of waited if you went back in time and you knew about the 2022 features when you bought your 20 and 21s? Would you wait, let's say, approximately like 6 to 8 months for the new 2022, or would you go ahead and get what you got and then do all the upgrades yourself again?
who wants to go first?
I think
go ahead,
for
Ray.
I'll go ahead. So yeah, I think for us, sorry, the speaker has decided. Anyway, um, so I think for us, it's if we had known that all of the mods that were available by the time we got the Beast were available for our classic, we never would have upgraded to the Beast. I think we would have built the classic into a Beast. So looking at it from that perspective, and then looking at the mods that are available on the new one, there's a lot of really nice things that are available on the new one. But the only big thing that would really keep me interested in buying the new one versus what I have now is actually the LED headlights, because we did switch out the bulbs, and I've already talked to Lorenzo about how much fun it is to switch out the light assembly itself.
Yeah.
Because to Lorenzo's point, a lot of the other stuff, right, is stuff that could be done if we really wanted to change our water control panel and we really wanted to dig into it, we could. There are aftermarket options available for the display panel where we could do some of that type of stuff. We could move some of the buttons. So I don't know that for us it would have kept us waiting 6 to 8 months, because, and I think the other piece of it though too is you have to look at the time in history we're talking about. If this was pre-pandemic, it might be a little bit different answer because we're able to get out and do stuff. We're not all stuck in our house. In the middle of the pandemic, no, I want it as soon as possible. I want to be able to get out as soon as possible. So I don't know, Michelle, maybe you got different thoughts.
Yeah, it's a tough one. If it was 6 to 8 months, I honestly might wait. In other words, if it was from today, 6 to 8 months, deciding on, the current model versus the new model. I think the upgrades are big enough. There's some extra storage cubbies that I might consider waiting for the newer
Yeah, that's
model.
true.
But the reality is, by the time these new models have come out, we would have had to wait 2 years. And having lived in our van, traveled across the country, all of those experiences that it brought us, because it's not just about the van for us; it's kind of like the tool that brings us everywhere else. I don't, that being said, I don't think so. So I'm still really happy with our Beast. I think what goes through my mind though is that the 2022 may have the last year of the current Mercedes chassis transmission setup. And that kind of makes me wonder, if you were going to get a classic stealth beast mode, is the 2022 the model year to get it? Understanding when they change those out. So, I'm kind of a little 50-50 on that one. I think the upgrades were significant, but that being said, there's really very little that they added that you couldn't in some way, shape, or form hack with the current vehicle you have. But I will be honest, it does look pretty awesome, just from looks wise, interior, and then that external charging port. Especially with the power interruptions we've had lately in different parts of the country. Just having that freedom and capability has been really fantastic. So, Lorenzo, let me toss it your way because I'm curious what your thoughts are.
It's funny because if I were to go back to obviously I've done a lot of things to my rig. So right now, the way I have my rig, and I think I mentioned to you guys earlier before we started that I have another appointment with Agile next week. So uh, with all the mods that I have on it right now, no, I wouldn't swap it for the 22. If I would have had the opportunity when I first got my stealth without any mods and the timing was 6 to 8 months, yeah, I probably would have waited the 6 to 8 months to get the 22. But now, I mean, I even have the factory LED lights on mine, so I mean, that would have been a big draw for me to wait for the 22. But I mean, on mine, I have those already. So, and like I was mentioning, a lot of the other mods slowly, I've been doing a lot of different mods. I mean, yeah, there are some physical mods that we won't be able to do, like shifting the fan over to the right to get more space in the roof deck, and you know, I think some of the other mods like the inverter and like
The removable cabinets.
yeah, the removable cabinets and stuff like that. I mean, those would be a little bit more challenging to incorporate, but I think overall the key point is that having the rig for the past almost year has really changed my life in a lot of very positive ways. I mean, I've met you guys. I met a lot of wonderful people that I probably wouldn't have met at least not in this past year if I didn't get the rig last year. And I think that for me there's an aspect of okay. There's always going to be something new, right? Next year, they're going to come out with a new model, new options, new change this, change that. So that's always going to be, a moving target. But the fact that having the rig now and being able to spend the time and being able to do a meetup with a bunch of friends, people that that I didn't know a year ago. I mean, that's to me, it's priceless. So. I'd stick.
That's a great point.
I still stick with mine.
Yeah, it's funny. I have so much FOMO every time I see a mode meetup getting scheduled, and I see it on the calendar, and I'm like, wait, will I have taken delivery yet or not? I'm like, oh, just not quite. So I totally know what you mean.
G, well, you have a sprinter. You can show up. Honestly,
yeah.
we don't.
I know.
Yeah, anybody is
well,
welcome.
So actually,
it doesn't
when we
have
did
to be just storytellers.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, and
remember there was
sorry.
Remember there was a rebel that
just
snuck into the Storyteller event expo in Tahoe, so we welcome everybody.
Well, and when we did the Vermont meetup, we had an ex-storyteller who was there with his full-on RV camper, and another guy who was waiting on his storyteller to come. He ordered one of the LTs, and so he's obviously not going to get that till next year. So if there's a storyteller meetup, you are part of STO Nation. So you are welcome to come, even if you come in a personal vehicle or fly from the other side of the country, like we. So
yes.
it's all about being part of the group. So.
And to add on to what Lorenzo said a little bit, I think we also need to remember that having the van is not just about having which model year, which fancy gadget that you have. It's all about the experience. Because look, before I got the van, I was camping in my Jeep, and I was having so much fun as well. The van just made the experience much more enjoyable. But in the end, we have to remember that we got these vans because we want that experience, and that's what's important.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I couldn't agree more. Good way to put it, Peng. So to answer my own question, the answer would be I would not wait for the 2022. The only feature actually that I really wish that I had on Lucy was the new, not necessarily the new water system, but the system with the quick release for the hose. So the hose is actually detachable when you want to use the outside hose. And the reason why is because
You can add it.
Kimchi's gotten sick a couple times, and he's thrown up like wherever. I try to like throw him on the mat real quick before he like goes everywhere. But the times that where he has like, thrown up on the mat, is kind of a pain in the butt to like get that hose out of the compartment and like figure out with the water situation. And I don't know, it was just kind of a pain in the butt. So I think having that quick release, and then also with fly fishing, when I fish saltwater, it'll be much easier to spray all my equipment down. So, and I think it'd be easier for those who like mountain bike or hike and their boots are all muddy or something. It'll just be super easy to be able to go ahead and spray things down. So, but with the control panel, I know a lot of people like that, but I don't know, maybe I'm old school, but I don't mind what I have now, because instead of pushing like 5 buttons to get to like one thing, I can just push like one button exactly where I want it.
Yeah.
So the dimmable lights, obviously, in the 20s is not a thing, but I mean, there is like certain customization that I kind of wish I had in regards to the panel, but it's definitely not a deal breaker. But I agree with everyone else, is that it's about the experience, and it's nice to like, get there from point A to point B in some type of style, but I don't think it's necessary. And the other thing is that with all the mods that I've gotten done, I would get a classic again, because I liked building my Lucy Beast out, because I did a lot of research. So all the stuff that I know, I probably wouldn't know now, because it kind of just came with it. B, I got to meet a lot of the vendors that I went to. And so I think in regards to just like being able to talk to people and pick their brains, it gave me a better opportunity to be able to build my knowledge base in regards to building it up, versus just having it all done for me. So that's just my personal preference. But
the one
I
thing
think
we
I
we
agree with
didn't
you. We would go back to a stealth.
sorry, I was going to say the one thing we
You took
haven't
too long to jump in, Michelle.
the one thing we didn't talk about though is that with the stealth upgrades, it looks much more like a beast. It's not such a, the stealth isn't now just a gray version of the classic. It actually has a lot of those components that you see on the beast. And so I think now the folks that were looking at potentially a beast, I think they're actually going to look a lot more at the stealth, because aside from kind of the boost mode auto start tie into the Volta, it kind of took some of the reasons to buy a beast away, because they added some of the capabilities, a la the external reports, the upgrades, etc. So I'm curious what's gonna, how the customers that were looking at the beast mode earlier are kind of reevaluating, or perhaps not, as we see these new vans enter the field.
I think you're going to have a little bit of both, right? I mean, you have some people that, that from the get go, they were looking at a beast, they're going to get a beast, because that's kind of what they, look was, what they were looking for. But if you had someone that was kind of torn between stealth and a beast, I think now they'll probably be more inclined to just stay with a stealth rather than get on a full beast, because they could just continue to build out their stealth, and they get their own beast. It's kind of what I'm doing. That's kind of what I've been doing. Yeah, well, I was going to tell you that quick release shower for the thing. That's actually on my to-do list of mods. It can be swapped out. So I kind of already I just haven't pulled the trigger on one that I liked with a quick release, but yeah, I was looking into it like a few months ago, and yeah, you can swap it out. I mean, it's just a little control.
Okay, well, how about we do this? How about you do it first, and we'll see how it turns out. And then if it's successful and it works really well, I'll come down, and then you can... Yeah, then you can... I'll make a video of it.
Exactly.
We'll post it.
So for those of you who have seen the van in person, I just have two questions. One is the touchscreen. Do you know who is the vendor that supports the touchscreen for that? And is that like throughout all three trim levels, right?
It is through all
Um,
three trim levels, but I don't know who the vendor is.
Okay.
yeah, that's a
I'm
good
just
question. I don't
wondering.
know.
Yeah, because I'm just wondering. The only thing I'm really concerned about the new one, like if I'm getting the new one, is if you put all the panels, every control on one panel, if that panel breaks, that's one point of failure and everything will fail.
Hmm.
So I'm sure
Well, just to
Storyteller,
interrupt on that,
yeah,
so you have the control panel, but then you also have a separate smaller panel for the Volta.
Mhm.
So just I understand your point, but luckily, like if that main control panel goes down, you should theoretically still be able to operate your Volta system.
okay.
But
And
you
then
wouldn't
I
be
think
able
that,
to. Sorry, I was going to follow up on your question, Pong. You wouldn't be able to
yeah,
operate like the AC or the heat if your main
Mhm.
modcom panel failed, right? Because that's the only way you would be able to control it.
Right.
yeah, yeah. So see,
Yep.
that's what I was thinking is, the touchscreen. I love it because it's so convenient, but I'd be worried that it's one point of failure. But that's why I was curious who is the supplier, because I could be wrong, because a lot of RVs are using touchscreen, switching to touchscreen. So it could be a very good vendor, and I don't think Storyteller would pick someone who has poor quality. So it could be something very reliable too. But
Yeah.
I'm just curious about that. And then I think the other question I had was, have any of you heard anything about the new Mercedes chassis for the transmission for the four-wheel drive? Because I know they're switching over to the inline four, but how does that work for Storyteller? Like if you order it now and you happen to get it later in the year, you're going to automatically switch over. Do you even have a choice on that?
No, so basically, I sum it up like this: pretend there's some dice in my hands, you shake it up, and you throw it out, and you see what you get.
Because Guillaume, if you're getting your van in early January, and if the V6 diesel turns out to be a better powertrain, more powerful, more torque, you could have one of the rare ones that could be really valuable down the road. You have the
Mhm.
fancy 2022 upgrades with a touchscreen, and you have the old, proven transmission with low range gear. So
Yep,
that's just my
yep.
thought.
Yes, absolutely. And honestly, I think so for that exact reason. I kind of, I've obviously done some digging online. It's really just speculation for what's going to happen with the US market. In Europe, they're already transitioning to the inline four with the permanent all-wheel drive system, the Mercedes 4MATIC system, and because it's that inline four, it's a fully integrated emissions system rather than kind of the bolt-on one that has always existed in sprinters to date. But honestly, I'm almost indifferent. I don't plan on taking. So I've had two. I'm on my second non-storyteller sprinter van. My first was a rear-wheel drive. My current one's a four-wheel drive, the 4x4. And yes, I engage four-wheel drive regularly. I mean, it's obviously excellent for snow for what I do personally. I don't anticipate taking my 10-foot tall sprinter van wheeling. I'm not going to take it on anything like too hardcore where that center of gravity is going to become that high center of gravity is going to become an issue. So if for some reason I end up with that sort of first new generation permanent all-wheel drive system, I'm totally okay with it. However, one concern is we kind of know the faults with the current chassis. We kind of
Mhm.
can anticipate what might go wrong. And a whole new generation with a new drivetrain, etc., which is only just now coming out in Europe. Who knows what other kind of new reliability issues might come up down the road. So honestly, yeah, ultimately, I do want the V6 diesel. I do want that sort of like low end torque that you get from it, and it's nice to have the switchable four wheel drive mode. So hopefully that's the one I get.
I think from what Younghwa had talked with Storyteller, I think they're going to switch to the four-cylinder chassis midway through the year, so probably June, July of next year. That's when Storyteller's switching, because they're going to be forced to switch. They're no longer going to be offered the V6 chassis. So how that's going to translate for the RVs that are being built, it's probably a few more months after that. I would speculate, but you know, I kind of understand where you're coming from with that new I guess engine and transmission. I mean, I've heard some good things, but then there's still that unknown factor, right? Because from what I've heard, the transmission's supposed to be better. The the four cylinder. I can't. I remember reading about the engine itself and the turbo, but I can't. I couldn't find the information recently. But I think, if I'm not mistaken, it might be a twin scroll turbo in the new four cylinder, which in my opinion is way better than the current turbo, because the current turbo is you can kind of, the simplest way of explaining it is it's like a single speed turbo. So it only has one speed. So once you get it up to 2,000 RPMs, that's when it kicks in and gives you the boost. A twin scroll is different. It has a lower setting, so it gives you boost at a lower setting, and then it gives you more boost at a higher setting. So a twin scroll would essentially eliminate that turbo lag that we hate so much. I think that we all dislike. So from that perspective, I'm like, I'm intrigued. And then obviously the other thing that's kind of unknown is that the 4MATIC. I mean, in the passenger vehicles, I think it's been fine. I mean, they've had it for a long time, but now you're taking it to the next level and putting it on a much bigger vehicle, much heavier vehicle. So how is that going to hold up? That's the thing that I am curious about. How well will it hold up with a beast of a van? So. But other than that,
and I'm wondering.
No, go ahead.
Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
No, I was done.
Yeah, because I was going to say, I also am wondering about the low range, without the low range, because I've had it for 3 weeks, used it twice already. I took it on a Jeep trail, a moderate Jeep trail, not a difficult one, and there was a fallen tree, and I had to climb on the roof to push the tree branch aside. That's the type of road I got it on. So yeah, I had to use the low range twice already.
Nice. Putting it to the test.
So I'm really curious what the new setup is, because yes, Lorenzo, I think I agree with you that I think the old engine overall is probably going to be a better, smoother engine. But if the capability is lower, then well, I don't know. I've also had a Subaru before, because I think the new system is going to be similar to what a Subaru has in terms of all-wheel drive, where it's on demand. When it slips, it sends power to other wheels. So who knows? It's Mercedes. They could be. It's all just speculation. They could be doing a very good job on it. So. But I was just curious.
Just not to interrupt anyone, but one of the founders and exec, Conn, just messaged and said that he's actually pretty excited, and we have a good group of panel people coming on. So, anyways, thanks, Lee. Appreciate it.
I think he almost joined. I saw Lee popped up and then he went away. So.
Yeah, I didn't think he actually wanted to talk on there. So, I mean, if I'm wrong, Lee, go ahead and pipe back up and we can get you on. But I just want to let everyone know that, he says hi.
Awesome. Thank you.
Hello.
Hey, Lee.
Yeah. But, I think you guys all have great points. And so let's go ahead and kind of move on to the next thing that we had planned on talking about, and just kind of going down the line. I think we can kind of smush the two together about like the things that I guess we weren't impressed with.
Ooh, that's a tough one.
So here's a really easy one. that stupid outlet on the side of the cabinet in the kitchen is still there, where you can smack your knee on it every time you
Okay,
plug
Graham.
something in.
So
Tell
I
him,
know the
Yoma,
reason.
tell
I
him.
talked to I talked to Brent about this when I was in Flagstaff, and so I forget the acronym, but basically, in order for an RV to be produced as an RV, you have to follow these regulations, and so that, for whatever reason, is one of the regulations that you have to have that electrical outlet. Now, I don't know if you noticed, it was on the far left-hand side, and they actually smushed it over, or not smushed it, excuse me, moved it over to the right, so it's closer to the switch panel. So what that does is it kind of moves it out of the alignment of the groove lounge when it's up in a
Yeah.
upright
Okay.
seating system, so you have a little bit more maneuverability. But I mean, yes, it is still inconvenient, but it's just one of those necessary evils that has to happen in order for
Yeah.
Storyteller to exist. So
Okay.
Blame the
That
regulators.
makes sense. Yeah, I'm much happier to blame regulations.
well, at least that's what they told me. I mean, they could be
Yeah.
blowing smoke up my butt, but I don't think they are.
Well,
But I mean, who knows?
no.
But they
Um.
made all the other changes, which is actually
Yeah, it doesn't make
that's
sense.
kind of the
Yeah.
first time I heard someone bring it up. So there must be something tied to some
Yep.
regulation or compliance thing, because
Yeah.
every other major thing that we heard about since
Mhm.
the beginning of time on the group was addressed. So yeah, it's
Yeah.
interesting.
Yeah. And Michelle, your hack, it was perfect. I thought about using like one of those flat against the wall extensions, and I thought, oh, I'm so smart. But then I saw Michelle's post. I was like, damn it, that's even better, because I don't know if you guys saw, but Michelle found this plug extension cord on Amazon.
Yeah.
And it looks like a wall. Yeah, it's like a flat piece of plastic, so it makes it look like it's integrated. And then she found the perfect length, and it even comes with these stickers, so you can wrap it around the cabinet, and it just looks stock. It was perfect. I was so happy
Nice.
that I saw that from her.
I
So
ordered
that solves
one.
that problem. Yeah.
I ordered that one too. It's in somewhere in my house. I haven't put it on yet, but I ordered it.
It's on the to-do list.
Yes, it
Oh
is.
man,
It does fix
$25
that
hacks,
problem.
$30 hacks are great. I think
Yeah, it's like
the other
so
piece,
easy, so
Those are the
simple, and
best.
so good.
the
All
other
right. So
piece
what else
here,
for your opinions?
I would say on the sides of things we wish we saw, Storyteller talks a lot about backwards compatibility. And I think looking at all of the vans that are out there, there's a pretty good amount of vans on the road today. And I don't know that I heard a lot of backwards compatibility. And kind of even when we were there on site looking at these, to be honest, I think we got a lot of I'm not sure about that. No, I don't think so. Not some very clear responses. And I think that's maybe a question or a missed opportunity as to how they're going to continue to support their current customers, keep them excited. I know there's always a desire to trade up to the next biggest, best bad thing. But some of these upgrades, can they be made backwards compatible, a la the control panel, the exterior table that doesn't hopefully warp. Some of these items, and I think that might have been a bit of a missed opportunity in that we saw these beautiful, really neat models for new customers, but I think the piece is how do they continue to support current customers, and which of these components and or upgrades and or aftermarket accessories are going to be available for current owners as well. So that would be one piece I maybe would hope to hear some more about in the future.
A good point.
Yeah, I agree with you, and I think because everything is so new, and they literally just got done with building the new modes, is that maybe the backwards compatibility and retrofitting may not be available right now, and we may not have the answers right now. But maybe I'm hoping in a year, or maybe 2 years or whatnot, whatever the time frame is that they go ahead and they look at that, and they do provide an opportunity to be able to retrofit. But I understand the frustration in regards to seeing all the new shiny things and kind of wishing that we had it, and not having the opportunity to be able to kind of upgrade our current modes that we have now.
And then I was going to
Yeah,
add on
and
to
maybe
that.
it's
I
go
think
ahead.
that Storyteller does have an opportunity to sell upgrades, at least like the tables. Like, I mean, some of these things are very easily swappable. So if Storyteller would say, hey, we're gonna make this available to the previous folks, I think that a lot of us would take advantage of that opportunity. So it's definitely something that they should keep an eye on and look into, I think.
Hmm.
Yes, we're screaming, take my money. And so,
Well, I'm sure part of it is also exactly that. Like, Storyteller obviously knows how much of a sort of like quote unquote cottage industry is going on with mods, etc. And I'm sure they're well aware that things like table, like adding the new table to an existing mode is something that people would love to do. But ultimately, I'm sure that they're sort of like, for now, like Youngwa was saying, they've just built these out for the show. They're probably focused on building out the first few production runs that they're going to need to do. And I'm sure just like everything, supply is so constrained. I'm sure that supply is being devoted for now to fully built units. And then, hopefully once things normalize, let's hope they do, then maybe they can release some of that supply and put things like the tables and some of the additional sort of modifiable solutions on their online store. I think it'd be awesome for customers to be able to do that.
Yeah. Well, I think the table itself is, I think you can swap it out. The question is Storyteller going to sell the new tables to current owners? I don't know, but I'm pretty sure you can swap it out.
You can.
Just,
FYI.
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure you can.
Speaking of table, I haven't seen. I think in the picture I saw, the table post is still mounted at the same place. Is that correct?
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, and they're still using the magnet system.
If you have to ask me what's a disappointment, I think that would be it, because the Groove Lounge, in case people don't know this, when you fold the Groove Lounge, that table has to be removed. Otherwise, the table pole is in the way. And I wish they did a remount of that location. But then again,
that was actually...
Yeah, that's something you can do aftermarket is what I was going to say. So it's not a big deal.
Yeah, we did that through Canyon using their mount that comes off the back of the driver's seat, and we stopped even using that mount on the wall for anything. But that does bring up another kind of interesting feature that I think was easily overlooked, that they added to the new ones, which is that now there's storage in that cabinetry underneath the Groove Lounge. There's now those outside pockets right there. And instead of that weird gray, it's black, that whole thing, which is actually kind of nice. Like, we end up storing a fair amount of stuff in that space between the front of the Groove Lounge and the driver's seat. So now there's actually some little spaces where you can stick some of that stuff that you just want easy access to all the time, which I thought was actually a really interesting solution.
That's a great point.
Yeah, it seems like before it used to be kind of upholstered piece of wood that covered the bottom of the Groove Lounge. Now it seems like it's a molded plastic with the storage solution on there. So it definitely looks more finished, I would say. So yeah, that's a good point.
Speaking of storage, one thing that I found really interesting, and almost one of the biggest surprises in my eyes, on the outside, on the stealth, that Invader store, the panels on the rear doors. I was almost surprised to I was like, wait, did Owl come out with a new design for the Sherpa plates or something? And no, it turns out it's its own like sort of e-track solution. And again, like, I didn't see them in real life, so I don't know how good that solution is going to be. But that was kind of a big surprise to me.
Younghwa, do you know if those are the ones that Agile makes? Is that made by Agile?
No,
or someone else.
I think it's a design of Brent Lang. I think it's proprietary to Storyteller.
Oh, that's cool.
And the one thing I will say, so I recorded a podcast yesterday when I took call-in Q&As, but one person did ask about the quality, and it looks to be high quality. I mean, like I said in the podcast last night is that only time will tell because it's too early. But in regards to, finish and fit and all that, it looks really good. The one thing I did like about it is that it had different brackets, so you can
Yeah.
really customize it to exactly what you want to do. And I think with the Sherpa, you can still do that, but I feel like the brackets that come or you can get with the new 2022 Stealth gives it a little bit more. Uh, what's the word I'm looking for? Modularity. Oh, I can't talk right now.
Modularity.
Modularity.
Yes, thank you.
Modularity. Yeah. Yeah.
I think I've been drinking a little bit too much wine, but anyways.
What I
The point
heard
No, but
is
it's
that,
the e-track mounting system is what I thought was really cool about that solution, because you're right. I mean, the Sherpa is kind of its own. It's just perforations really, and it's kind of up to you to figure out how you might mount different things. I like that. I mean, there's a whole universe of e-track type accessories out there, cargo mounting, and it sounds like there's a tire mount.
Yeah, that's what I was going to
So,
say. They talked about there being a tire mount that you can put on those, which that's pretty awesome because now you don't have to go buy a separate, just specific tire mount to put your tire
yeah.
on. So it sounds really. I mean, it sounds really cool, to be honest. So.
yeah, it'll definitely give Owl a run for its money, I think.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and it looked nice. So I mean, we've got the Sherpas on both sides, and they're really nice, but you are limited because you only have certain size holes in some places. So like some places you can only put a bolt in, and some places you only have a few places where you can actually legitimately get like a hook in if you're using like a cargo strap or something.
Right.
And it sure looked like that new e-track system had a lot more options for that, where you could do, you weren't so tied in with, like for what we use right now, we have to use eye bolts that are bolted into the Sherpa and then strapped down. So it's always in the same place. It'd be kind of cool if we had a few more options where, depending on what we've got loaded in there, we can move the straps up or down, go crossways, whatever we want. So yeah, the e-track system seems really interesting. Seems like a nice improvement.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yeah, and I think that's something that will be able to be retrofitted on any mode. So I think that's a good thing.
Yeah,
Makes sense. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Okay, so we kind of got a little bit off track, but to carry on, to get us back on track, talking about the bad and the ugly, the smugly, I guess. What else? Is there anything else that you wish that you saw that you didn't see?
DLT? No, I'm just kidding.
yeah.
No. No. Honestly, I think for the most part, I think a lot of the things that I saw were actually mostly positive. I don't think unfortunately, I wasn't there. I was planning on going, but then things changed, unfortunately, so wasn't able to make it. But I really wanted to go because I wanted to check out the new LT. I was just curious, but I think it there is a significant amount of differences in the platform where the LT does feel a little bit different than the rest of the mode family in some respects. So I'm not sure. I think the jury's still out on that one, in my opinion. But I think a lot of people are definitely very excited. So I think it's a positive thing for Storyteller to add more platforms and to include the transit, and I think that a lot of the decisions that they made in that platform are very specific to the layout of the chassis, because there are differences in the chassis. So I think they had to make some tough decisions to make things happen. But yeah, I'm curious to see it in person, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, we were lucky enough to see it. There were some things that were pretty nice about it. One actually that just occurred to me that's a little odd, but anyway, the panels actually they don't put on the driver's side on the BLT; they're on the passenger side. So what's actually kind of nice about that is you don't have to walk all the way into your van in order to adjust something. So you could conceivably just take that 1 or 2 steps up, and it's all right there just as soon as you get in, which is actually, the more I think about it, kind of a nice thing. So there was that. Um, I guess it was otherwise. Um, I think from the back of the cab to the back of the van, very similar to every other storyteller. Things were set up the same for the most part from their back. So
Yeah.
at least on the house side, it was still a storyteller.
You know
Yeah.
what?
So to interrupt real quick, Lee Conn volunteered to come on, so I'm gonna hit him in and
Sounds
let's
good.
see if we can get him going. So then we can start talking to Lee.
I love it.
Let's
Put
see
Lee in the
here.
hot seat. It's going to be
I
great.
know, right?
Special guest. That's great.
He doesn't know. He
Surprise
doesn't even
guest.
know what he asked for.
He doesn't know what he's
We
getting
appreciate
into.
the tribute.
So, I guess Peng, what did you think about Lee's statements in regards to the questions?
So what I was saying about Lee, what he mentioned about trying to do their best to provide customer service, even in this challenging time with dealerships being backed up, is I actually happened to experience that firsthand today. I unfortunately had a Volta failure in my system, and I was able to call Storyteller this morning. I was able to talk to someone from Volta, do a quick check, and basically I managed to get my van in for service on Wednesday, and Volta already overnighted the new alternator, which is what was the trouble with my van. They already overnighted it to the RV service center. So hopefully they will get it by tomorrow, and by the time I take the van in by Wednesday, they should be able to replace it out. And the reason it's really important for me is because I had a trip planned for Canada on Friday. So if somehow this miracle gets pulled off and I get my van ready by Friday, it will be a huge deal for me, because this is the first time since pandemic that I know Canada, it's a foreign country technically, so it will be a wonderful experience after 2 years of this whole pandemic thing, and it just amazed me how fast all the balls started rolling. And here's the thing: I called them in just as a regular customer. Uh, Obviously, I'm a web developer or web designer for STO Nation. I could have pulled some strings. I could have dropped some names. And I know, why you actually gave me some numbers and specific persons to call. But no, I didn't do any of that because, first of all, in the morning, I didn't get your text messages yet. I just called the regular Storyteller line, and everything just like everyone in, I'll do some I'll mention some names. Angie as Storyteller, she was so helpful. She was so wonderful. Jason from Volta patiently walked me through all the steps. So, or even Tara from La Mesa Service Center, she basically called me back within 5 minutes of me leaving her a message, and I explained to her my situation, and she was able to fit me in for Wednesday for this quick repair. So just everything that I went through, even though it's an unfortunate event, gave me confidence that someone have my back. The Storyteller company have my back, because Angie had to make some calls and to Volta to make sure that they ship everything overnight. So it just makes me feel better about. I know every van is going to have problems, and I thought, you know, it was going to be a sour experience for me, but it turned out to be a wonderful experience for me. So I think the reason I want to mention this is for some of the potential owners in the future. If you have concerns, I think Storyteller knows that this is very important to their customer, and they're going to stand behind their brand. So that was my comment.
Yeah. Okay. Awesome. So I know we got disconnected, and I think the majority of us are back on. So we've been running for over an hour and a half, so let's kind of close it out a little bit. So if you guys want to talk about, I'll give you guys each a few moments to be able to say your last comments, either about the the new models or what Lee said or anything that you feel like you want to say. So let's go ahead and start with Graham.
Um, so I was really excited to have Lee come on and talk and provide that other insight. Um, I think it was telling, and he knew it, that as he was talking about the new chassis, especially the Fords coming in, that he wasn't willing to admit to a specific date or even a month. But like you said, you know, knowing that they're built in the same place as the F-150, the fact that they're even expecting to get some is kind of positive enough. Um, so I think that's one piece from Lee. I think when it comes to the new features on the storytellers, I think new owners are going to be really, really happy with what they get. I think that the Ford is going to be an interesting option, and it's. I hope it opens up the Storyteller Nation to more people, because there are people out there who they swear by Ford and they won't buy a Mercedes or whatever it might be. So I think it's exciting to see where we go.
Yeah, I agree. Lorenzo, last words?
Yeah, I just wanted to add a little bit more on what Graham was saying. I think that the fact that they're adding the Ford chassis. I mean, they've considered the idea for quite a few years, right? I mean, even from when Storyteller first started, the Ford chassis was in the conversation back then. But logistics and things change, so it didn't materialize back then, but now it's here. And I think that it's a good thing. It's definitely something that will help Storyteller, will help the community. Having it's definitely going to bring in a whole group of people that, like Graham said, wouldn't buy a Mercedes. They want an American chassis, such as the Ford. I mean, I know there's some people that prefer Chevy versus Ford, but the fact that they're getting a a Ford chassis will actually bring in a lot of people. And I think that that is a good thing. I think that it's going to continue to grow the community. It's going to, just uh, make our community a little bit more open to other folks that weren't even considering buying a storyteller. And as always, I think the best part of being part of this community is the people. So I think bringing in those people, I think we can always enjoy a little bit of a bigger group, and we can always enjoy. We're not. I don't think we're a community where we say. I think in just about all our meetups, there's always been someone that didn't have a storyteller or didn't have you know I mean, heck, it didn't have a van. There's been sometimes when there's been someone in the truck, but I think that speaks volumes of the people themselves, and I think that um, that's one of the many things that I enjoy. So really just say thank you there to everyone out there for being awesome people and for enjoying the heck out of these vans, because that's what we're here to do. So
Yeah. Well, that's well put, Lorenzo. Thank you. And so with that, we'll close. And I just want to thank everyone who tuned in and listened to the live broadcast of this. And if you don't know, if you're listening to this podcast after the fact, whenever I do it virtually, I go into the Facebook group and I go ahead and make an event with a link to where you can listen to it live. And so I'm pretty sure if you listen to the entire thing or even parts of it, it might be a little bit different than after I edit it. So, but anyways, I want to thank the STO Nation team for coming on. I really appreciate it. And you guys have valuable insight and experience, whether it's just beginning or even in G's case, hasn't even really started. But we all have thoughtful insights, and I appreciate it. So thanks again for coming on.
Thank
Our
you.
pleasure.
STO Nation is a production of Park Media. The executive producer is Younghwa Kim. The audio engineer is
Stephen Grasso.
The marketing director is
Guillaume Golsong.
The original music and artist is done by
Jason Walsmith.
The sound designer is
Lorenzo Interiano.
and the webmaster is
Peng Shi.
Without any of these people, this podcast couldn't happen, so a big, huge thank you. And a big, huge thank you to you, the listener. If you like this episode, please don't forget to subscribe, share, and leave a 5-star review. This is Younghwa with STO Nation, and I can't wait to share the road with you.